Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mavita Savidi. Now, first story, more than 10 wooden structures in Kofrom Market have been destroyed by fire. That part of the market also serves as homes for some people. Properties where thousands of CDs have been destroyed, by which the fire started around 1 a.m. JoyNews' Awuku Malik joins us with further details. Good morning, Malik.
Good morning, dear.
All right, so what can you tell us so far?
So this situation happened at Kofrom, the popularly called place, Sofu Menteni. That is exactly what residents of that place call the location. You know, the fire started around 1 a.m. today, and you know, the firefighters, the first fire station who came there was from Tech. And they were supported by Menshia Divisional, and they were able to, use the fire. But it was very difficult because of how the situation is at the place. You know, they were not getting access to, the place because they were all squatted. And it's a place for food vendors and fishmongers, and also people who normally work on lettuce and provision stores. So the squatters are now left homeless, with a lot of them, counting on their losses.
All right. Do we know, are there any deaths?
Hello?
Yeah, Malik, are there any deaths? Was anyone injured?
No, there were no injury and there were no deaths, yeah.
All right.
But the firefighters are yet to, tell us what exactly happened or what caused the fire.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's Malik giving us an update of the Kofrom Market fire. But away from that, a virologist at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research is warning of a third wave of COVID-19 in Ghana if the public fails to adhere to safety protocols. Dr. Michael Wusu observes many have relaxed in observing the safety protocols, especially the wearing of face masks. He wants the public to be wary of developments in India after the Asian country was hit by a wild COVID-19 strain. He's been speaking to Tachometer of our health desk.
Dr. Owusu warned Ghanaians cannot continue to be apathetic to COVID-19 protocols. He observed the B1617 COVID-19 variant, which has the same transmissibility as B117, discovered in the United Kingdom, continues to lurk around. He cautioned Ghana, which has been receiving visitors from all over the world, may have the best measures at the airport, but a slip of a single case from India may prove too expensive.
The problem happening in India is what is giving the world some cause of concern. India is having the B1617. That one has the same transmissibility as the B117. And because the behavior of this one and the UK are very similar, it is highly likely that if it enters any country, it's going to take that country to the third wave. So the virus concern is what people are worried about. And two is about the population size. India has close to 1.3 billion people, just like China. And for such high populated country, it means whatever they have, once they move and travel out of the country, everywhere they go, they are likely to see that country with this kind of variants that they have.
The virologist wants the public to be wary of developments in India after that Asian country was hit by a wild COVID-19 strain.
We have put in very good systems at the airport. Even the next, the review or the information given by the foreign ministry, to the extent that even if you are negative from a high-risk country, you have to be quarantined for some time and be retested. These are good. But then this is not foolproof. It means that out of 100 people, you may have one or two that will slip unknowingly into the country. But if within the country, everybody is observing his own protocol and put on his mask, even if people come with that kind of thing, it will not survive. It's just a matter of time to get out of the system. But then when people are not behaving well, and you even have one person who slips through the airport, that person can easily infect many people, and that can contribute to that. I mean, you see the churches that had this mass gathering. If you had one person slip into that place, you will not be a prophet to tell that this will lead to the next wave that we've talked about.
On the streets of Kumasi, there is no enforcement of compliance in the wearing of face masks. Most residents are failing to wear their mask.
Ghana for ye, any pebia, Yaswanding, even cry me, cry now, we interview me, crown so by me, nose mask. Into Abano so agonium. It is a 90% nose mask, and yes, any boy I ran home by once I hear him, ready we see him, from the way I can. COVID-19 to Ghana Hano. Maybe they can't catch them say Ghana Hayano Cre. COVID-19 no Ghana been ha. No nose mask nation no Yakano. So be no matter we move our nose mask a or chef for hot.
According to Dr. Wusu, it is time the police and other security agencies intensified the enforcement of all COVID-19 safety protocols.
It's difficult. People do things the way they want. We are happy that there is a law in place, but then the implementation and the execution and to ensure people are arrested is also another problem. So whilst all these structures and systems are being put in place, we have to ensure that people do what is right. One, education like what we are doing, but then two, that the police will continue to enforce the law. For those who flout this to be arrested, and those who don't put on their marks should be prosecuted. And we have to be seen as serious about this. We don't have to wait for the health sector to become overwhelmed, for people to die, just because few people just don't want to go back, adhere to the protocol. So we must revisit what we did before and ensure that people do what they are supposed to do so that we don't put the country in a difficulty like India is facing now with so many deaths. We don't want to see that in Africa or even in Ghana. We will have to keep the virus at a low level whilst the vaccination exercise goes through to ensure people are well protected.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyminteria reporting.
Away from that, the Judicial Service is worried about challenges it faces in preparation of jurors for adjudication of criminal cases in the Ashanti region. Ashanti Regional Supervising High Court Judge, His Lordship Kofi Akora, says the situation, which has repercussions on expeditious trial, has forced many available jurors to continually act for a number of times. He made the observations at the opening of this year's criminal assizes in Kumasi. JoyNews again.
The 1992 Constitution promulgates the use of judges and jury in the trial of accused persons standing trial for offences which punishment is death or imprisonment other than high treason or treason. The jurors, who are not staff of the judiciary service but appointed from organizations, are given the opportunity to decide the fate of their fellow citizens standing trial for criminal offences. Ashanti Regional Supervising High Court Judge, His Lordship Yao Akroria, observed failure of residents to accept this responsibility has repercussions on expeditious trial. He recounted instances where institutions asked to provide persons to serve as jurors hesitate, a situation he says affects expeditious trial. His Lordship Akroria is courting the support of the public, especially public institutions.
It has often been a problem with the preparation of the jury's list and adequacy of both men and women for empaneling. Indeed, this has repercussions on the expeditious trial. It therefore makes a number of jurors continue to ask for a number of times. This is not the best. There are instances where institutions asked to provide the persons hesitate to bring up the most productive staff. We are therefore entreating institutions involved to endeavor to put up some of their best staff to help achieve a better quality of decisions from the courts by virtue of their participation to a delivery of justice. This apathetic situation on the part of citizenry can also be attributed to the seemingly low allowance paid to the jurymen and sometimes the delay in payment. We are, however, happy to acknowledge that for this particular session, the Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Kwesi Ani-Yeboah, has acknowledged the importance of the jurors in the justice delivery system and has facilitated the increment of the sitting allowance from 50 cedis to 100 Ghana cedis.
At least, there are 72 criminal cases pending trial before 5 High Court judges in course in the Ashanti region. Out of the number, 35 of them were from last year's session, which could not be heard as a result of COVID-19. Justice Akroria assured key stakeholders of the support of the Chief Justice, Justice Ani-Yeboah, in the promotion of justice. He warns lawyers Jurors, witnesses to play their key roles with dignity.
I am entreating the jurymen to consider their duty as a national one and service to the nation in this justice delivery system, and thus show dedication and commitment. I also entreat the bar at the leadership level and in their individual capacity to be available for assignment of briefs. I therefore entreat our learned friends to de-emphasize working for reward in these circumstances. We expect the Attorney General Department in the region, led by the Chief State Attorney, to equally be committed and to ensure attendance of witnesses, including the police. I also entreat our potential witnesses to show their commitment to the justice delivery system with the availability and production of their fair and unbiased testimonies to ensure fair and effective trial.
Meanwhile, Justice Akroria has promised the readiness of the Judiciary Service to probe all petitions to the latter against staff of the service. He wants all such petitions to be devoid of personal attacks.
We expect citizenry to lodge fair and objective complaints without being judgmental. Some petitions mostly condemn the affected personnel, including judges, and I do not think it is the best way of lodging complaints. We acknowledge that we are not infallible, but let your criticisms and comments be made fairly, objectively, and in decorous language, and we shall definitely deal with them.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyinteria reporting.
Now, a survey by Action Aid Ghana in 2 districts of the Upper West region shows there are widespread incidences of gender-based violence and harassment at workplaces, especially in the informal sector. The survey conducted in the Drapa and Lambasi districts with 25 women groups and in 16 communities, and 76 cases of domestic violence reported by women. Upper West Region's Programs Officer of Action Aid Ghana, Habiba Nibaradun, made the revelation at a program to campaign for government to ratify the International Labour Organization Convention on Harassment at Workplaces. Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
Though the issue of incidences of gender-based violence and harassment at workplaces in the informal sector are mostly unreported, there's evidence that the phenomenon exists in the country. Several workers who are victims of the incident mostly don't report, and as a result of that, the perpetrators of the inhumane act goes unpunished and in some cases continue with the act. A survey conducted by non-governmental organization Action Aid Ghana in the Jiriba and Lagos districts of the Upper West region with 25 women groups and in 16 communities during a 5-year promotion opportunity for women empowerment and right power project reveals how widespread the incident is. Abiba Nembaradom is the Upper West Programs Officer of Action Aid Ghana.
76 women actually reported cases of domestic violence against them. These incidents contribute to injustice against women and girls and are rooted in strong social, cultural, and traditional norms that continuously violate the rights of women and girls and prevent them from enjoying their fundamental human rights.
Action Aid Ghana therefore organizes a campaign for the ratification of International Labour Organization ILO Convention 190 to outlaw gender-based violence and harassment in the world of work. The campaign brought together representatives of different associations comprising of smallholder women farmers, trade union congress, informal sector workers, and activists to add their voices to the call on the government of Ghana to ratify the ILO Convention on Violence and Harassment to guarantee a safer working environment for all workers in the country.
The incidence of gender-based violence and harassment in the form of intimate partner violence, violence and harassment in the informal and formal workspaces, child marriages, marriage by abduction, and teenage pregnancies are issues of rights violations against women and girls, which undoubtedly exist in the Upper West region. Upper
West Regional Director of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Charity Bature, urged victims of gender-based violence to report offenders to the appropriate quarters.
Please don't be silent and endure any form of abuse or harassment in your workplaces. From what we have from our flyers, the research action aid did for the urban women cluster, it was realized that over 44% of women suffered some form of harassment, be it robbing or touching. The fact that you are working for somebody doesn't mean that your dignity as a woman or as a human being should be taken for granted. If there's any form of actions that is being addressed to you which is not safe for you or which you are not comfortable with, there are various channels of addressing them.
A petition was signed by smallholder women farmers, trade union congress, informal sector workers, and activists led by Madam Gwele Elizabeth and presented to the Upper Regional Minister for almost sending to the President. Chief Director of the Upper Regional Coordinating Council, Peter M. Malley, received the petition on their behalf. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
Now, many of the young girls plying a trade as KIA in Accra's markets have had to drop out of school. Old Fadama, where many of them live in Accra, has no public school. In the second of a 5-part series shining light on the lives of head porters in Ghana, Justice Baidu asked Valentina Roberts, who he followed for days in Ghana's largest slum, why she left school, risks of getting raped in a slum, and dreams of going back home.
My name is Ibrahim Abubakar Sadiq. The school was established in 2013 and is taking care of KIA children so that their parents will go to market and come back with them safely. At first, the KIA girls were sending their children to the market, and we decided to take them from them so that we will be taking care of them in the from here so that they will go to the market and come back to meet them safely. We just want to change the future so that these children will not join their mother's paths in doing the KIA job.
Achinda kantrata kusaka trata wa mekabe wesu belawu la musu uswa da hampo ene muka kwa mchetela akamugonne uya saka mu muka damu were yo fanam that some form ataba mu kwa be gan be na kere abe diksi be amana abe ise abe magema motoko moyo bufanda kifo ayo ganna be na gere abe amanu be kia hapo wi mu abrola chiru tsanna ayo be mana school na kere be uniform baba majumani ma bibiri ba ka yi da mai kan tabe shi mu bayira da ku saka ba maka wiya mu saka nan wa mutuwa cire a tsara mu bai ce ka ba ce ko nuru annaka wa ahire mu ka cha man daga nan sanna mu no wiya masacha mu kisma je siyano no like mutela sa make am sago channa mu mace amusul mutre shop amaka ma princess adaha awu awi akala sa mutre ma akala sa nambe menena boy no bolo na hone.
And that's how we end the AM News. With me, Mapita Sibidi.
A lesson there, Mary J. Blige, a blast from the past. Beautiful one. This was one of my favorite, well, it still is. It's one of my favorite tracks Mary J. Blige.
What did she say there? No heartbreak can take away what you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you remember, I mean,
powerful.
This very video, back then, the part where the rain is, you know, hitting and all of that, it just tells you about life, yeah? Sometimes you get, they say when it rains, it pours, and it's pouring on you, but you must, you know, withstand that storm, and the light will definitely show at the end of the tunnel. But to all of you, thank you for making time to join us on the news review segment of the show. Mama, how are you?
Well, I'm okay. I mean, I was just reading a piece this morning that said we should encourage one another with our experiences. So, you know, you can motivate, you can inspire just by sharing your story. Yeah. And I've just been reflecting on it. Otherwise, I think it's a beautiful Tuesday. You know,
we all have a
life
story
again
and,
today.
Well, we all go through our own stuff. Who knows who will be inspired by that story? And today we'll be telling the story of some Kayai and what they go through. And that, I mean, it's heart-wrenching a lot of the time. My only problem, this has gone on for so long. These things, I was just contemplating, because of today's discourse, the number of documentaries and stuff I have seen on this since as far back as decades ago.
And the story is same,
the story
isn't it?
is the same.
Yeah.
The abuse, it just broke my heart, really.
So a neighbor was sharing an experience yesterday with me. Said he joined Trotro from Seco that was heading towards Nsawam, and he realized he had used all his physical cash to buy fruits, so he didn't have money to even pay the TNT. And he asked the driver if he could give him 20 Ghana cedis, and then he would transfer 20 momo to him. He said he didn't have. Then there was his description, beautiful young lady who offered to pay. So she opens her purse and he sees 15 Ghana cedis, and then he says, but you also have to pay for yours. And she says, oh yeah, all I have is this 15 Ghana cedis, but I want to pay for you. And the man was insisting that, okay, give me 10 cedis, I'll transfer 10 momo. She said no. And he said he was so touched. So this is a man who is fasting. This is a fasting period for him. And he said, I was shocked that they're good people. They're that kind of people today around. So after everything, he said he realized that this girl may have a story. So he decides to talk to her a lot more. And it turns out she had actually lost her job yesterday. She was a contractor, on a certain project, and she had lost her job, so she was looking for a job. And her rent had also expired. So this 15 Ghana cedis was given to her by somebody else, a friend of hers. And there she was, willing to share the only 15 Ghana cedis she had with a total stranger. And I thought, oh, this is such a beautiful story. So yes, there are still very good people out there.
There still are.
Yeah, may God let you see your angel today, and may somebody else's story touch you today.
I'll tell you one thing, I'm touched.
Oh.
Thanks for sharing.
Well, I have to say thank you to Uncle Raf for sharing the story with me this dawn. And so, well, let's go out there and share our experiences, and we hope that we can inspire others. We're coming to do the newspapers. We've got a number of them in the studio. We'll touch base with myjournline.com as well. That's our online portal. So I've got the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, the National Enquirer, and the Economy Times newspapers.
Got the Daily Graphic, the Finder, the Daily Statesman, the Dispatch, and the Business and Financial Times.
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, this is the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and on the front page, we give you updates of this fire incident. Okay, so this is another one that happened yesterday in Accra. There was one in Kumasi. Fire ravages timber market, displaces 100 people. Details in the paper today. President pledges government support for May 9 victims. Alleged exchange of food for cash. 53 senior high school heads, others in trouble. Investigations to be conducted into food supply in Ashanti region. Remove all illegal speed ramps on highways. Road Minister orders Ghana Highway Authority. If you go to page 3, the police is on manhunt for 2 suspected armed robbers who engaged the police in a shootout at Kwashiman here in Accra on Sunday. The suspect, who suffered gunshot wounds during the shootout, reportedly snatched a Toyota Yaris taxi cab Registration number is given as GW821520 from its owner at La Paz in Accra. So the Accra Regional Police Command disclosing details of this stated that the police were investigating the case. So accounts of how things happened last Sunday is here. Some of the things that we hear these days is like a movie. It's just like a similar story. This time, this was an Uber, right? And the person had offered a drink to the driver and said he was going to buy food or something like that. Now, after taking the drink, the driver just falls asleep into a very deep sleep.
You made mention of that, I think, some weeks back, and that has become very rampant.
It's like a movie.
Rampant. Someone shared a story as well. The person was talking about the Gempa stretch, the back road, and how to be careful.
Yeah.
Because he was saying these people, and now there are so many ploys they employ.
Yeah.
They come, you see them in the dead of night, a woman with a man, something is happening. If you dare get out,
you can have a pregnant woman.
You're going to face trouble. And this person was shot at. His rear, view mirror was actually, they shot at him while he tried to flee, and that bullet could have hit him.
My concern, though,
they say, Papa now all cannot. Being good has become a bit dangerous. You want to do good, but sometimes you think. So I'll tell you, there's one thing, a habit I've cultivated. Whenever I sit in a car, I'm driving. Do you know the first thing I do? Before my seatbelt, I lock up. Because someone can just come, open up, and then...
Yeah, I know, right? I was just going to say that, the Gimpa stretch, the road behind Gimpa, it's become so notorious, but I wonder if all the reports and all the accounts, all the experiences that people share, particularly on social media, if the police is taking notice of that.
I was just waiting to say if you have a hotspot, what do you do?
I think
you control that area and ensure that you are. But people keep reporting. It means it's still going on.
Exactly.
At a certain time, it was around, and I don't want to, affect anyone's business, but the Fiesta Royale stretch, that stretch. Okay. People said that, look, you get there in the traffic light, one person engages you. They've likely seen that you have something on the other side or maybe at the rear. While you're doing it, if you've not locked your car, if auto lock is not on, the other person opens on the side and takes your bag, people have lost MacBooks, people have lost all kinds of things over there. So by the time you realize that this one is distracting you, they're done with you.
I know, right? Well, okay, so vehicle rams into drinking spots, killing 2. It's also another story here. This happened in the Asokwa municipality of the Ashanti region. And then the Tema police record 58 robberies, 3 attempted murders. And this is just the first quarter of 2021, 58 robbery cases and 3 attempted murder cases. The robberies involved a car snatching, 1 street robbery, 51 residential robberies, 3 workplace robberies, and 2 highway robberies. These are just the cases that were reported to the police. You can imagine that there will be quite a number of others who would not really believe in the system and say, even if I go cry, nothing will happen. So they will not go forward to report. There's also a 29-year-old trader, Eunice Adumako, who's been arrested by the police for allegedly stealing a 6-month-old baby at Oduma near Ablekuma in Accra. She was reported to have lost her baby after giving birth at Kolebu Teaching Hospital back in December 2020 and failed to inform her 2 boyfriends, one in Sutem in Ashanti and the other at Osino in the Eastern region. So what did she do? In a bid to maintain her relationship and to receive remittances from her boyfriends, she connived with the baby's mother, and she's been sending pictures of the baby to the boyfriends, purporting to be their baby. She said one of the boyfriends, so this is the police giving an account, and saying that one of the boyfriends insisted on seeing the baby, and Eunice planned with the baby's mother to show the baby to her boyfriend, and this is the boyfriend at Osino. So Eunice could not return as planned before the arrival of the baby's real father. The father lodged the complaint at the police that his missing baby was missing. So Eunice was informed about the development. She failed to return home with the baby until a church member convinced her to return the baby. For the rest of the story is on page 3 in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Again, this is like a movie, huh? This is like, one of those movies that I guess before we would say, hey, Kumerwood, like Nigerian movies, they can imagine things, and the things are playing out like in real life. You hear them and you laugh, but they're true stories. Let's check out what's in the center spread of the paper. That's the president's pledging government's commitment to support victims of the disaster of May 9, 2001 at the Accra Sports Stadium. A lot of details on that. Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Shemating, has urged Ghanaian entrepreneurs to take advantage of the country's conducive business environment and invest in sectors which are currently dominated by foreign investors. That story also here. And then the authorities of 53 senior high schools in the Ashanti region are to be investigated by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service for allegedly exchanging food for cash at their respective schools. So there are quite a number of them. They include headmaster, headmistress, or the assistant domestic bursars, accountant, and or storekeepers, according to a letter from the Ghana Education Service to the Regional Directorate of the service. Lots of schools in the Ashanti region caught up in this. And then on the back page, the Ghana Health Service has implored parents and caregivers that in order to ensure healthy growth of their children, they should not skip or suspend routine child health in interventions amidst the coronavirus disease. And then a week-long international conference on West Africa food security and storage, organized by the Economic Community of West African States Commission, ended in Accra yesterday. What you missed, if you want to catch up, is all in the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Let's quickly go to the Daily Graphic now. It says COVID-19 protocols missing at KIA. Mamavi,
at KIA?
Protocols no. So here's the story. Many of those who frequent the meet and greet section of the Kotoka International Airport do not adhere to the COVID-19 safety protocols. This is in spite of government's directive that people should wear the face masks in public and also observe the protocols of washing hands with soap under running water. Now, apart from the main arrival and departure halls where adherence to the prescribed protocols are being strictly enforced, the rules are not being enforced at the waiting areas. So it's like here, we strictly enforce it, but on the other end, it's not enforced. That can only be a recipe
if you
for disaster.
Had returned from, say, the UK,
exactly,
and I was coming to meet you and pick you up, I will come with no mask. Okay.
So you see what exactly is happening here. So they talk about physical distancing being non-existent at that area. They talk about this fact that when passengers get to the arrival hall, they have their masks on, but remove them as soon as they begin to interact with people or receive phone calls at the meet and greet section. And guess what? The head of the KIA, Mr. Kwakwa, the Ghana Airport Company Limited, I should say, said some of the measures to ensure compliance at the public section included procurement of new seat markers and extension. It doesn't fundamentally address the issue, but he explains that the objective for this team is to monitor and ensure total compliance of all laid down KIA COVID-19 health and safety protocols. But as it stands now, there are many issues. And
so what are they doing? They have a task force.
Yes.
How is that solving the problem? Because the Daily Graphic captured a good number of them without the mask.
The point is that this task force obviously hasn't been tasked enough. Because this is going on right now. And you would recall on April 29th, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration announced that in view of the alarming rate of infections of COVID-19 in some parts of the world, especially in Asia and South America, the Ghana Health Service had advised the general public to either cancel or postpone all essential travels. So that's one interesting bit there. This is an institutional failure that we are pointing out. It captures the story of the AU appointing President Mahama's Somalia envoy. We wish him the best. Hopefully he can bring some closure to that situation. Mama, you know of what's been going on there and how a certain person wants to renew his mandate, and now the bit about ensuring that elections happen as soon as possible. But what do you think about this? On page 7, right to water. Water is life, of course, but some people, in Ghana, we don't need to be told. People don't have potable drinking water. It's even, interestingly, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women has it there in Article 2.2, because in some parts, it's used to discriminate against women, water. And so It's a major issue. I just had to highlight it. An article has been written on that, and I feel it is worthy of your time if you grab a copy of the Daily Graphic newspaper to actually read it. U.S. government declares emergency after cyber attack. And let's go to the middle spread of the paper. There is Vice President calls for sustainable food security in sub-region and the U.S. to support agriculture sector under new initiative. Before we get to the back page where there's another final interesting story, I have good news for all Manchester United fans because a certain Edinson Cavani, I didn't like him when we played Uruguay and Suarez, caught the ball and all of that, and we lost to them because I think, was it Radamel Falcao or Cavani? But, they made life difficult for the Ghana Black Stars. But I'm happy in this respect because he's been doing an amazing job for, so I've been corrected, it's Diego Forlan who actually scored that goal. But he's been doing amazing stuff for Manchester United. And guess what? He's put pen to paper. We're waiting with bated breath to find out whether he would stay. Boca Juniors had been trying to entice him with a big sum of money for him to wrap up his career there. But he's going to stay.
So where does he play? Like, what's his position? How is he going to contribute?
He's a striker. He's a typical number 9.
Okay. All right.
So that's it with him. Mama, you'd be interesting in this final one. Treatment for umbilical cord. GHS phases out methylated spirit. It's in accordance with WHO guidelines. Apparently, we've been using it for a while. It's not what ought to be used. So now they're going to use chlorhexidine, an antiseptic found to be more effective in preventing umbilical cord infections in newborns. This could actually go a long way to prevent some, avoidable deaths in infant mortality. So very good one there.
Okay, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, fake national security Galamsey boys in courts. Judge, 7 others cited for contempt. We're on to the Daily Guide newspaper. And then the banner headline here, coup plotters stay in jail, Agojo out, with a picture of ACP Dr. Benjamin Agojo. And I've said that I'm not comfortable saying coup plotters because it's not, and it's still very much an allegation.
I think that's why they put them in quotation marks, but some people would read it literally. That's the problem. Still.
And then Vice President wants cooperation for ECOWAS states. Lawyer wants jury to visit JB's house. Details of that in page 6. On, I guess, with the issue of the fake national security Galamsey boys in court, a bit of that. Some 7 persons, or 11 persons, I beg your pardon, who allegedly paraded themselves as operatives of the national security and were undertaking illegal mining activities, which is Galamsey in the eastern region, were yesterday held before a Kaneshi magistrate court in Accra. The 11 are part of a total of 32 people who have been arrested in connection with the illegal mining activities in the forest reserve at Achim Akenteng in the West Akim municipality. It's just it's unimaginable, that you have a group of people carry themselves confidently as national security operatives.
What's surprising about
and undertake.
We've had people carry themselves as doctors, as lawyers. We've reviewed the stories here. We've had people carry themselves as so many things in this country. It is that easy. Sometimes.
I get it.
And some of these people have been doing this for over a decade and stuff.
National security. Listen, I appreciate
the temerity, it shocks you.
But I appreciate the fact that this case is in court, but I think it should give the national security the opportunity to think about how they operate again. Because you see, we're so used to anybody just coming around and saying national security. You get to Tobu, national security. You get to a checkpoint, national security. And anybody can just design the coat of arms or anything that's representative of Ghana, like something that's like national. All you need to do, national security, and you're gone, national security.
Do you know
We've
the problem?
Tolerated that to this point.
We can't even identify those in certain state institutions. Do you remember part of the problem in Ayawaso West Wogon, where these people in balaclavas and all of that, people couldn't even tell. Are these people genuine? Are they not? Which unit are they with? What are they doing here? People should be identifiable. There should be certain identifiers. Unfortunately, we don't have them. Do you know my major worry here? There have been instances in this country where, look, recently a police officer came to my neighbor over some issue and had even wanted to go inside. And later when I came, I told my neighbor, why did you even tolerate this person? Did the person have a warrant? No. And some of the things the person was asking, simply because someone has gone to lodge a complaint and a high-ranking police officer
but you should identify
something that shouldn't
properly
have even been done by an officer of that caliber. You get it? So there are major problems, and someone can come to you and say, a group of people, we are with national security and this and that, and do certain things to you only for you to find out that these people have nothing to do with the national security setup. It is a danger, and we ought to address it. We ought to fill the gap so that people know who is real and who isn't.
We fail to do it to the extent that now they can actually carry out an illegality in the manner that they have done when we have said something has been banned. They actually carry themselves openly. And these are like, what, 23 of them. They're not hiding any longer.
These are the ones we've apprehended. How many more have we not?
I mean, it breaks my heart, and I hope that national security will pay attention to how their officers carry themselves. Sometimes you can't even ask them questions. You can ask them to identify themselves. I mean, it's this whole hidden thing. They will come back and hurt us as a nation. And then, you know, they will put a whole administration to shame because, you know, it's like, oh, don't we have leaders? How can they be parading themselves like this in the open? So this is just an example of a whole bigger issue. I wanted to see if there was a News One pullout in the center spread, but I guess I'll probably have to look for it another time. There's a lot of sports stories on the back page. Who says he won't resign? That's the Juve coach.
Yeah, he says he won't. Pierre says he won't resign. Of course, they were hammered by 3-0 recently by
AC Milan. Yeah, yeah. Well,
I don't think he should resign. You see, I feel people should be given opportunities, not opportunities to be wasted anyhow. But he's fresh to this job. Some have said he is not prepared for it. He can't handle the likes of Ronaldo and all of that. But look, I think the old lady is complaining too much. I'm using one of the nicknames of the team. They've won, is it 9 titles?
Yeah, but when you
back to back. Like what?
When you have
at some point there'll be a little bit of a decline.
Ronaldo.
Oh, come on.
You're used to the win.
He isn't God. At some point you have a bit of a decline. He's the top scorer in the Serie A, but he isn't God. And I don't think, I mean, they can keep up at that level for what? 9 titles? Like what? Really? The Finder newspaper. Are you done with the daily?
Yes, sir.
All right. GCB's first quarter profit before tax rises by 46.9% to 181.39 million. Trade Minister commends Ibrahim Mahama for investing over $100 million in Jata cement factory. Mama, I'm all for credit.
Recently, I've been buying cement. You know when I saw the story?
What I say? 50 Ghana and
see, I started buying.
Are you getting
at 46?
Discounts.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I wish somebody could give me a cup like that. Who is my MP again? So I started buying from 46. 2 days later, 47. Another 2 days later, it went to 50. Like I was so shocked. And now it's like 52. This is my own experience. And it's not even been much. Charlie.
We'll see,
Charlie. So when I saw the story, I was like, so how is that going to reflect in the price of cement? That was where my interest was. It's a good thing, but is it going to be less than what we're already buying it on the market?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to get a good share in the market, I'm sure some of those mechanisms will be put in place. If you look at what Dangote is doing in his sphere, and even in Ghana, you know, Dangote Cement, what they're trying to do, you would see that we would need, apart from the GASEMs, we would need others to come into the industry and maybe help, you know, lower prices. Because maybe a corner dear. Stronger integration of ECOWAS markets crucial to build synergies to achieve food security. That's according to the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. Tolona honors Opon Kroma for service to his country. I'll focus on these two stories, Mamavi. CID probes 53 schools over alleged corruption in free SHS feeding program. That's on page 5. And it talks about how the Ghana Education Service has directed the management of some senior high schools in the Ashanti region to cooperate with the CID of the Ghana Police Service as it investigates some issues related to the supply of food items. According to the Deputy Director General, Anthony Boateng, the CID has informed GES about the ongoing investigation. So district directors of education are required to release the headmasters or headmistresses or the assistants, domestic bursars, accountants, stockkeepers of the attached list of schools to go to the CID for investigations if required. So that's it. But you know this bit about, sometimes misappropriation of items and all of that, Charlie? This has been going on for decades. I remember back then in school, there were so many things about, those in charge and sometimes how they would sneak certain things out, smuggle certain things out. I don't know, but it appears in every facet of our society, maybe apart from private institutions, some private institutions. There are so many loopholes for people to do stuff. And when there are opportunities, it's said that opportunity makes the thief. When you create loopholes, sometimes even the person who ordinarily isn't a thief might be tempted to become a thief. The other one I wanted to...
And if you are tempted to become a thief, then it means that you have that genes already in your system.
If you don't have character, you will fall flat. But sometimes there are people with character. It's not that, there are people who are solid, but at some point the temptation is you can do one touch, but that one touch, But hungry ECOWAS citizens to increase to 27 million by end of 2021. I'll do that very quickly. It's by our Agric Minister, and the population of people who go hungry in the ECOWAS has skyrocketed to 20 million in 2020 and is estimated to reach 27 million by end of 2021. Here's the important bit. In contrast, this is to its increase from 4 million in 2018. 4 million in 2018 to 16 million in 2019. Now we're looking at 20 million in 2020. And by what? We're increasing to 27 million in 2021. Look at that, 4 million to 27 million within this short period. I'm wondering how many people, how people are going to cope across the ECOWAS region, especially young people who are striving for something. Hey.
All right, let me get into, I guess, my last newspaper, the National Enquirer. And this is an issue that we tackled here on our show. It's made it into the National Enquirer newspaper. Derek Okol, our producer, writing the story. 3.4% of Ghanaians believe vaccines are dangerous, according to the University of Southampton
Derek on
research.
A roll.
Exactly. But what the research also said was that 82.8% of Ghanaians say they are willing to take the vaccine when offered the opportunity. So a good breakdown of that. Religious banter, Christian Council clashes with Chief Imam's office. And the paper is advertising, and they're asking to watch the space. Police prosecutor embezzles some 6,400. Is this pounds or euro?
Well, I think in the story I saw...
Exhibits in his custody. What's this sign again?
That's pounds.
Okay. All right. So 6,400. And we're watching the Space National Enquirer for details of that. They're also recounting 5 major events that have made Akufo-Addo's government unpopular in its second term. All right. That's it for the National Enquirer newspaper.
All right, so I'll just do a headline from the BNFT and wrap up with a story in the Daily Dispatch, and we are done. Local jewelry industry is dying. Players call on government for swift intervention. I highlight the story because I was speaking to one of these jewelers recently, and he says on the back of some of what is happening, even sourcing gold and other things is problematic for them. And this is someone who has been in the industry for decades, so you realize some of the problems in there. But let's look at page 2 of the Daily Dispatch. National Security Minister Albert Kandapa installed Assistant Grand Master. And he has been installed as the Assistant Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons of Ghana. Should we say congratulations to him?
I don't know. I mean, he's a national officer, so if it makes him a better national officer, that's what I want to see. I guess that's what I'm interested in, not the private stuff. Yeah. I had some pictures from the Ghana Armed Forces on the Galamsey. You know, they've been on this operation on the river bodies, trying to get people to comply to the limitation that we put on. You can't mine in water bodies at a certain distance. And so they've been carrying out this operation, and they've been, tomorrow, God willing, I'll share the map, you know, the river bodies. And it's incredible when you see some of the shots that they've taken, you know, whilst in the air. And we've seen pictures and videos, but this is actually current. And for a lot of the water bodies, Chalet, like everything is gone. And so they've been trying to, I know this is also a bit controversial in terms of the distraction of the equipment that they see, but some of them, they actually can't even reach them, so they have to shoot
complaining that
from the air to destroy the equipment. Sorry, Ben. So this is typically what is happening. They're actually trying to shoot some of the equipment that they use, and some of them are manufactured in Ghana. So before we were importing all of these equipment, but now they're actually manufacturing it right there. And it's, Charlie, this thing is gotten out of, see,
so
yesterday,
that's a shangfang right there.
Yes, yesterday I said that unless, I know my country, Ghana, unless we're keeping the military like they are there, even if we see a little success, we still let them stay. I don't know, but I have a feeling that the moment they leave, the people will come back.
Oh, no, that is the reality.
That's it.
The moment you leave, the people are going to come back. So far, though, I see them shooting water.
No. So if you continue to watch the video, you'd see that they're actually hitting their targets.
Right.
And sometimes there's actually no way to get to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just have to do it like this. And kudos to the Ghana military and all of those supporting this engagement. My final bit, though, Mama B, I'm wondering, the UMAT thing and the process to clear our waters. I've seen, I think I saw a sample or something recently where a very small water body had been treated. I think it's something we really ought to look at. If we can employ technology to clear our waters, it's something we really ought to be looking at. But kudos to the entire team.
Oh, yeah. So we're showing you more pictures of what the military is up to. And if you don't get upset with the pictures, the river bodies, and how it's been destroyed.
Sam George the other day sitting here was saying that, well, I have my own take on that, but he was saying that for people caught in this, they should face the death penalty. Of course, we've not exercised that. It's on our statute books. We've not exercised.
It should upset you. It should upset you as a Ghanaian. Like it's oh gosh. All right, but anyway. I have a friend who celebrated his birthday yesterday. So these are pictures of the distraction. Happy birthday to Evans Kujo Bwedi of Coventry. He's in Coventry in the UK. Evans is a fantastic friend. Like, he has a heart. Is there anything more precious than gold? Like, he has a heart of gold.
Does he drop pounds?
Charlie, he drops everything. He drops pounds, CDs.
Okay.
Evans
now I get the love.
Evans will share his card with you. I mean, like, there's no limitation to what he can give.
Oh, that?
He gives. And I'm not just talking about cash. He's an awesome guy. And I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday. I missed wishing him yesterday, but it's not too late. So, Evans Kujo Bwedi, you were in Coventry in the UK. I hope that you had a fantastic day yesterday. Everybody needs a friend like Evans in their life. Yeah.
But there's something you're not adding.
Which one is that? From his 2 girlfriends?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be me and Caroline.
I see.
Yes.
So it's a club. It's like a, right.
Yeah. He has 2 girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? You can't get over that?
No, I'm just pondering it. You know, give me time to think about this, yeah. We'll pause here for effect.
Yeah, Muftal would bring the effects a lot more. But where are we playing the Champions League finals? Is it still Turkey or there's a Wembley in the mix?
Whether it's going to be Istanbul or wherever, I think Muftal will be able to tell us. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Sports is up next.
Hello, I am Muftaf Nabila Abdullahi. Welcome to AM Sports on the AM Show. For the first time in 20 years, a sitting president has hosted victims of the May 9 disaster. We also share stories with you on how the Ghana Football Association has presented a budget to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, saying that they want to hold what they call intermittent camping of national teams. Also, we'll be sharing stories with you from the Boteman site that we visited. What are people saying about it? First, let's start with what the president of the country has done to the victims of the May 9 disaster. President Nana Akufo-Addo has promised his administration will support these victims of the May 9 disaster that claimed the lives of 127 football fans at the Accra Sports Stadium. On its 20th anniversary, former Chief Executive Officer of Asante Kotoko, Herbert Mensah, led a delegation to the Jubilee House as he continued his efforts to alleviate the distress the disaster had on families. My colleague, Tasari Bidiakon, has the rest of the story.
Herbert Mensah, who was Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko at the time of the May 9 stadium disaster, has been the lead for the yearly national commemoration and charity activities in the last 20 years. The Ghana Rugby president founded the May 9 Charity Foundation to provide financial and material support for families of the victims of the 2001 tragedy, and also to engage in public advocacy for proper football administration and safety standards at match centers. Executives of the May 9 Foundation and family members of the victims of the disaster paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo at the Jubilee House on Monday.
In 20 years, this is the first time that the President of the Republic has recognized what it is that we're doing. In 20 years, Mr. President, you're the first president to spend time from a very busy schedule. We understand the affairs of state. We understand the difficulties of being in COVID, difficulties in trying to resuscitate things in this very difficult time, which many people perhaps do not understand, but we do. And we appreciate even the few minutes of your time. And so therefore it is critical that I make mention of our gratitude that after 20 years we have finally found a president who actually cares. And I know that those who've come from Kumasi and from elsewhere, those who are shedding a tear beside me right now, recognize that. Many were not at the stadium. They did not even know their loved ones were there. And so some of them we had to recount to them. As we visited them at the house, when I first came to their homes, they were in a state of shock. And 20 years on, it's interesting to see how they have developed. Some are still crying here today, Mr. President. But I think the tears are also tears not only of missing their loved ones, but understanding that at a time where a president told us not to be spectators but to be involved, there are people here who have been involved.
President Akufo-Addo thanked the founders of the May 9 Charity Foundation for championing the cause of families of victims.
Tragedies of this sort can only be commemorated and remembered because people decide that they will not allow people to forget it. So those of you who have taken the trouble to perpetuate the memory of those who were caught up in this tragedy and have now grouped yourself into the May 9th Foundation, you deserve the warm applause and commendation of the entire nation of Ghana. I'm intrigued by the idea that today that the May 9th Foundation is beyond football. You put it beyond football, that you have embraced a wider social space involving dislocations, floods, dislocations of people in their lives. This is a huge undertaking, and you need a lot of courage and capacity to be able to carry it out well. You will have the modest support that this administration will be able to give you. I can promise you that.
127 football fans lost their lives during a Ghana Premier League game involving sworn rivals Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium on May 9, 2001. It remains one of the continent's biggest football tragedies.
Herbert Mensah, he doubles as the president of the Ghana Rugby Union. We have stories to share with you on the petition that was sent to the board asking him to step down because the board will be meeting later today. But still on stories that are related to the stadium disaster, the National Sports Authority Director General, Professor Peter Chumesi, has attributed the country's success in averting further incidents of that nature to the authority's implementation of the Okudzeto Commission's report.
The National Sports Authority, as the custodians of the state-funded sporting facilities in Ghana, has implemented largely the various recommendations made by the Okudzeto Commission set up by the former president, His Excellency President J. Kufuor, in order to avoid or reduce the level of casualties to the barest minimum in case of any similar emergencies. We can confidently say that all the renovated stadia and the newly built ones, thanks to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his vision for infrastructural development in this nation, all these facilities have been improved in terms of the entry and exit points, which will ensure safety of lives at all costs. And I believe that today is a demonstration of that will as the National Ambulance Services and the other partners demonstrated this morning in those practical demonstration or drills that we all witnessed. Honorable Minister, our hearts go out to the deceased families and the nation. And we pray that the good Lord, the Almighty God, will strengthen them at all times.
Yesterday, we brought you a fact-finding report on Ghana's readiness to host the 2023 Africa Games. Based on our findings, the local organizing committee chairman for the 2008 African Cup of Nations, Dr. Kofi Amwa, has called on the leadership of the country to renege their commitment to hosting the competition. According to him, it doesn't appear the country will be ready.
You know, this showcase of sports tournaments, regional and global, are designed to show the pride of a nation to the world. And if it's done properly, then you can use it to attract tourism, attract investment. But if you are not ready, I think there's going to be many Africa sports events. Let us now support our government in enacting the policies. Somebody talked about education, job creation for our young people. That will build strength for our society. So when we want to go and host one of these regional or international tournaments, we really can showcase our nation to the world. So that's my comment. I think we should suspend this potential hosting. We are not ready. Financially, we are not ready. And if we are not careful, we are going to bring shame to the nation instead of pride and glory.
Our veteran sportscaster, Carl Tufo, says the COVID-19 pandemic has been an impediment to the successful organization of games all over the world. And once organizers of the event, that is the African Union, the Association of National Olympic Committees of Africa, and the Association of African Sports Confederations, to postpone the event to 2025.
See, Nat, when we want to do things in an indoor arena, particularly in this day, it becomes worrying and vexatious. Tennis, the sports tennis, is allowing fans in because it's an open area. The United States basketball, now that they started the NBA, look at the number of people there. Look at the mask that they are forced to wear, but more importantly, the facilities are there. About check, how do you call it? Temperature, how do you call those things?
The temperature gun.
No, not them. No, the COVID. Have you taken the vaccine? All those things have been done. Can we say the same here? No. Granted, I've taken my own. By God's grace, I saw your news item. Another batch has come, but my 28 days has passed. I don't know if it means I have to take 2 again. That's the vaccine. But you see, within this era, for me, I would never advocate they take it away from Ghana. I think I'm too patriotic enough for that.
Yeah, I also think.
But I think we should postpone it for at least 2 years.
We stay on stories related to sports infrastructure. As government continues to struggle to erect a befitting edifice for Africa Games, the Municipal Assembly of Old Tafo in the Ashanti region has completed theirs and handed it out to the people. Courtesy of funding from the Zongo Development Fund, the Sakasaka Park in Old Tafo has been transformed into a standard football field with the hope that more talents in the area will be unearthed. Municipal Chief Executive Officer Fred Obeng says the facility will be put into good use, adding that its maintenance will also be given to a company to ensure it is properly taken care of. JoyNews' Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has the rest of the story.
The new sports facility is expected to nurture young talents in the municipality. It is named after the former Member of Parliament, Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei, in recognition of his contribution to football in the area. Hundreds of sports fans, including children, witnessed the commissioning of the football pitch, which was attended by dignitaries including Chief of Tafo Nana Ajim Fripong Ababio. Municipal Chief Executive Fred Obeng Owushu says the facility would serve as a motivation for the youth who have passion for football to develop their talents to compete at the top level.
It will go a long way to help the youth, the teaming youth of this municipality. We are advising that any activity, any program which will benefit should be brought here. Any activity which is not good, we are not going to allow for them to have it here. I will also advise that whenever they are even not having any activity or a game, we don't want people to come out with any bad thing. We don't want a bad name.
The municipal chief executive commends the former and current MPs, the Tafo chief, as well as the Ashanti regional minister, Mr. Simon Osei Mensah, for their various roles in making the project a success. The former member of parliament, Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei, calls on the youth to help manage the facility.
We pray that they will realize that it is for them, and so they will help in taking care of it. They've gone from Sakasaka to AstroTurf. It is for their interest. We want to develop their talents for the future.
A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
The Sakasaka Park is the place where Mohamed Salisu started his career, and also Mubarak Alassan, formerly of Liberty Profession and currently with Granada, he also played his football there. Thanks very much for joining us for AM Sports. I am Muftar Nabila Abla. We've got more stories on myjoyonline.com. We'll be sharing the stories of how the Ghana Football Association have submitted a budget to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, telling them that they want to have an intermittent campaign of all national teams, ranging from under 15 boys and girls to the Black Stars. The senior national team is expected to go for a tour in Europe as they seek to prepare and win the African Cup of Nations 2022. We appreciate the time you've spent with us this morning.
The reality when it comes to the Kayaye saga, the abuse they face, and how a lot of us are turning a blind eye to it. Thank you for staying with us, and that's our next conversation. We host Edith Asamani Wase. She is a development consultant. We also have Hajia Lamnatu Adam, a Tamale-based women's rights activist. Ladies, thank you very much for joining the conversation.
Thank you.
Okay. We also have Justice Beidu, my colleague who put together this investigative piece, this documentary, and he'll be sharing some thoughts on what exactly went into it and what his discoveries were as we talk about this situation. So starting off the conversation, I believe I'll start with you, Hajia, on this very beat. Now, for a while, I think, so I'll start with you, Edith, instead. For a long time, for decades, I've read stories about Kayaye, this north-south drift, this entire phenomenon. And I'm just looking at it from this angle because it's been so long since even I was in basic school and read about this phenomenon, but it still is what it is. What do you feel are the contributing factors to the Kayaye situation? Why do you think we still are where we are?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that the contributory factors are varied. They move from sociocultural. I know a lot of people blame poverty, but then there are also elements of sociocultural norms in there. People blame poverty because, of course, a lot of the girls and the women move from the rural communities to the urban centers because they feel this is the place where it's for greener pastures. This is where they've had their business pass through in Agbogloshi, in the Medina markets, and that's where they feel they could make it. They could pass through the same means that their mothers and sisters have gone through. But then there's the other factor, which is the sociocultural practices. I have personally spoken to a number of Kayaye who have told me they actually came down here because they were running away from child marriage. Some of them are running away from female genital mutilation. I remember I spoke to one lady, I withhold her name. She was 13 when she got married. And her parents gave her out to an older man, and she had to run away because then there were the issues of abuse. She got pregnant. She just couldn't take the whole situation anymore. So she had to come down here. So it tells you that we cannot deal comprehensively or address the situation if we do not start addressing the situation from the roots, where they are coming from. Is there a way of ensuring that the places that they are coming from have all the things they need to thrive, all the things girls need to thrive, all the things boys need to thrive? How is their schooling, their educational prospects like? How are their economic prospects like? How are their health prospects like? Are they living in a place where they wouldn't have to move to look for better opportunities? That is one. And then the second thing is, how do we ensure that some of these harmful, that we actually deal with it? We work very well with the traditional leaders, with the faith-based leaders, with the parents who have grown up with this culture as part and parcel of them. How do we ensure that we deal with all of these issues in different facets so that these girls feel like they can thrive in their own homes and not come here and endure all the abuse that they go through on the street, and restore some of the abuse that are meted out to them in Injustices documentary. But then there are other dimensions, like how do we ensure that even if people came here, we packaged the Kayaye phenomenon so that it becomes a proper business that does not harm people, rather than them just coming here and going through all the things that they go through. So this is my thoughts on
your initial take.
Why this has done.
And it's very interesting because then there's a whole lot to digest in there. Even if we want to maintain it, what are the measures we're going to put in place to ensure that they are not abused? We'll be getting to the bit about the comprehensive things we have to do at the tail end when we're looking for solutions or proffering them. I'll come back to you on that. Do we have Haji Alam Natu with us? Haji, are you with us? Okay, so when we cross over, because I'd wanted to find out from Hajia, she is, she is at the forefront of this, where she comes from, and I would have wanted her to expatiate on the story when it comes to the Northern Belt and some of the other factors that may contribute to this. But let me come to Justice Bader, who put together this piece. So, Justice, walk us through this. What was it that you discovered, unearthed? Some of the things that we don't get to see when it comes to the lives of ordinary Kayaye. I know, for example, Valentina Roberts, who is in the shot right now, was only 12 when she left Tumu in the Upper West region. She was in JHS 1, came down south, and tell us a bit about her story.
So, good morning, and good morning to everyone watching. So Valentina, whose story we have been following for quite a number of days, as you said, is from Tumu, and she's only one of thousands of Kayaye people in living in Old Fadama, which is the nearby slum to Abuburushi, a major market where I'm sure a lot of us buy foodstuff from. So now she basically lives the life of thousands of other young girls. So this series basically has 5 thematic areas looking at education for young girls and boys sometimes that are cut short because of Kayaye, the poor accommodation. And I tell you, I was in Old Fadama for about 2 weeks working on this, and the sort of rooms where
Justice, good, okay.
You cannot even breathe in. You cannot even breathe in some of the rooms that these girls live in.
Wow.
There is terrible stench. There is heat. There are some rooms that girls sleep in, and you have about 12 of them, like Valentina, sleeping in a room which is literally 2 by 2 in inches or in measurement, and all you have is basically where to lay your body. And you know, basically these rooms have no windows. They live in these places that the community itself does not have running water. There is no toilets, you know, basically no services at all. And you have girls younger, way younger than Valentina, some 8, 9, or even 10, doing this job, living here. And it's a terrible situation.
So I was about to ask about the youngest you had encountered, and you talk now about 8, 9, and 10. So 8 being the youngest as far as this hotline documentary is concerned that you encountered. Was that the youngest age?
Yes. The youngest that I spoke with was 8 years, and you know, it's even hard to verify their ages because a lot of these girls really cannot speak English, and it's hard to understand them. I've been working with a fixer who translates their ages and everything. But yes, I mean, they told me their age. Tomorrow, we will be putting up a photo series on my journal line which details children between 8 and 10 who are doing Kayaye and living in conditions worse than the one that Valentina lives in, having to dread men who basically rape young girls.
Right.
Basically rape young girls in some of these communities.
Right, and it breaks my heart even as we talk about this situation. We'll get to the bit about rape because that's another dimension, another level of abuse that these Kayaye go through. But just to situate the conversation very quickly, when you spoke about even these spaces, no services at all, but they still have to pay, right? They pay certain people to be able to reside in these kiosks and others, from what I gather. Is that correct? And how much do they pay?
Exactly. So places like Old Fadama and Agbulushi are really controlled by what you could describe as sort of mafia groups. You know, it's mainly a no man's land, and so it's survival for the fittest. And the people who have been able to secure enough space for themselves to be able to build these small shacks, tin shacks that people live in, are the ones who are benefiting. A lot of them do not even live in the slum themselves, and they come in over the weekend to take their monies from these girls. So in the room that Valentina stays, for example, they have to pay 70 cedis every week. to be able to stay there. And so
how many are they, and how much are they contributing to get these 70 CDs? How many were they?
So there are 12 of them. Right. Sleeping in one room, which is smaller than the average room, actually with no windows. And this room also contains all their belongings. So 12 of them, actually one girl has a baby, so technically 13. And then they also have their belongings in that same room. And they pay 70 cedis a week. And so at the end of the week, they will divide that among themselves and then make that payment to the person who owns the land.
So that's very interesting, because I'm just doing some quick mathematics here. It would mean if they were 12 or 13, that would mean they would be paying something close to 6 CDs a piece to make up for the said amount. And that's very interesting because, again, per Valentina's story, she makes about 40 CDs on a bad day and about 50 CDs on a good day. So it just breaks down the dynamics for you. Right before I cross over to Edith again, I want to find out from you. Edith spelled out some of the motivations. Some of them are running away from the cruelty of child marriage. Others are coming down because they want to make something for themselves. They want an education. They want to get an apprenticeship or learn a trade, like in her case, where she wanted a sewing machine. Are there any other motivations you found out in having this discourse with them? Are there any other motivations?
I think everything that Daniel has said, I think that everything that Esenam has said is very true. But for me, as a journalist, having traveled and worked within northern Ghana for at least 10 years, I would put all of this down to 1, poverty, 2, poverty, and 3, poverty. Everything else is a symptom and a result of poverty. Girls being handed out for child marriage, for which reason some of these girls will be running away, is because of poverty. Families have more than 10, 15 children to take care of. Half of the year in northern Ghana, there's nothing to do because there are no rains, and really farming thrives on rains because there are no dams to work with. And so, for half of the year, if there's no food to eat, young girls, cash crops because they are then handed out for marriage. And then what comes out of it is used to feed other siblings. So basically, it is the poverty that keeps driving these girls out of their communities. And so, yes, all of the things that you have spoken about are very true. But then the root cause for me is the poverty. And between tomorrow and Friday, you will see within the 3 other episodes that are left, how basically the poverty and the need to be able to just survive,
right,
is the cause of this menace.
Okay, I'll have you hold it there, Justice. So it is clear one major consequence or one major causal factor, grinding poverty, causing them to drift down south. Let me come to Edith now. If you followed Valentina's story, she works from around 4 a.m. in the morning till late at night. Now, my question for you, are we protecting our girl children enough, especially considering child labor regulations and international agreements we've signed on to as a country? Are we protecting our girl children enough? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Valentina was 12 when she left Tumu. What are we doing? Are we doing enough?
Obviously, no. I don't think I'd be doing myself, my sisters, my mothers, my friends any service if I said yes. I appreciate and acknowledge the fact that a lot of organizations, a lot of agencies, civil society groups, some that I have worked with, development partners, even donor agencies, including our own Ministry of Gender through the Domestic Violence Secretariat and all the various agencies under them, are doing, some things just to ensure that girls and women are protected, especially who we call marginalized groups, the Kaya, and being one of the major marginalized groups in Ghana. I think we can do more. I think we can do more in terms of ensuring that those who really deserve livelihood skills get them and get out of the street. I think we can do more to ensure that even if we were supposed to look at Kaya, like I was saying from the beginning, as a good place to make some economic gains, how do we ensure that the women, not the girls, because the moment girls are engaged in labor such as this, within the time frame you have mentioned, it becomes hazardous labor. How do we ensure that if women decided to be part of this and are seeing this as a place of work, how do we standardize it so that they only carry a certain weight of things and we brand it such that it becomes, because I know that there are a number of apps that have rebranded this concept such that you sit in your home and then they buy your things and then they bring it. Nobody gets hurt, nobody gets harmed, everybody is healthy, they close at a particular time. How do we ensure that these girls know how to do these things and rebrand themselves? So I think we are not doing enough to protect girls and women. The girl's place is not on the street. A girl's place in school with her male friends, to study, to make the best out of her life. And if a girl decides that I have finished senior high school, her place is not on the streets. Her place is either to get into trade, to learn a trade, to become a huge businesswoman, or get into, just literally ensure that girls and women also fulfill their potentials, because they are humans too. And Ghana is one of the countries that we hail for having made some progress with regards to the Sustainable Development Goals. But as a Ghanaian, I don't think we should continue hailing ourselves if we are leaving so many people behind, because one of the taglines of the Sustainable Development Goals is that we should leave no one behind, and it's quite unfortunate. I feel that these girls have been left behind. I think one of the ways we can ensure that the girls are not left behind is by working together. Let's not work in silos. What the ministry is doing is good. What the agencies are doing are good. What the civil society groups are doing are good. But if we're able to harmonize all these interventions and get more coverage, let the interventions reach more girls, I think then we'll be making some headway, because the efforts we are making are only targeting a few hundreds and a few individuals that are getting out of the streets or making it back into school. So yeah, we are doing a great disservice to girls and women, and we must do more as a country.
What you just said reminds me of something that the gender minister, Sarah Asafo, said, that no woman is going to be left behind. That's the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, that no woman will be left behind. How about our children, the females who are drifting down south? Are they being left behind? I'll be coming back to you, Edith, but before I do, I just want all of you to watch excerpts from this piece.
Besides me, my space in your folia, I could do a la magana, come at us, a moment man. Lies you for it. Some amateur fire. Sometimes let's one afford to go 50 to 60. So I got my light home traffic. When you them, I bet the Tamale station. I bet cocoa board. The man light home and can. Like none more was no now. That's for sorry. No, the small was on my sorry. Or has you could clear back on in the Buya. I could to say, I was a boy. The not pancake more blue way. It's the child of blessings that I'm almost increasing. And the one who get a station school is the cooking for city. And the one who get a cocoa board in similar solar. I used to do that even to the 25. My sister no bele from Belewa, and so I'm mere quada. But Silana, I would tell a rose, I would tell my below balance to tell and the home. A payment. And no say obey payment. And wow, was it a movie? Moka Dama, Amaka Chonkaya, Amayo Matarankana, Akampa, Mayor Matarankana, wow. Mira kan ko gonne overall smart yesi go belewa o salo tele ko gonne ko o ada ha o ko appreciate plan do ko enne me babalo to sa bole amaniere masala muwi akon ko ha akan ko chonka ya ha Allah amayo mutela ha akan ko wadia Madosan semai yang rabel muko, mereka wah menang mu yang sebagai sisi mu sepapo, antuang mak kita yang mana wah masaca makia, mau yuak kemudian wah menang mu yang nobe ko boleh ada oh, memang wah kalau mu yang kongko, nobe ko boleh dak, macam kayak macam mu menang.
And that is the plight of Ghana's human shopping baskets. Yes, headquarters, or Kayaye, as we call them. I'll be coming back to you, Edith, and my question is simple. If some of these girls feel maybe they've not got an education up to the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they feel learning a trade is the only way to go, how do you think we can empower them? Because in the case of Valentina, whose story we just shared with you, bits of it, she is constantly being bombarded by family up north to send them money out of the 40 cedis minimum she makes every day. How do we empower these girls, especially if they don't want to go to school? How do we empower them to learn a trade or something?
All right, so I'll use my experience in working in the development sector and some of the examples I have seen that people have used to empower, girls like Valentina. I have seen very, very successful mentoring programs for Kayaye, where we've ensured that Kayaye are linked to people that have ever been like them and have made it. I remember there was the Chief Justice Mentoring Program that I think Paid did with a UNFPA. It was so successful. Then there have been other opportunities where girls have been taught how to make soaps, have been taught how to make slippers, all the things that craftsmanship comes with, which does not necessarily harm a girl or take her out of the normal work hours that somebody who should be in apprenticeship. Our Children's Act says that if you are 15, you can be in apprenticeship. Someone who should be in apprenticeship should have. I think that we have opportunities of helping the girls do this. The problem is, how do we ensure that if they have the livelihood skills, they will be able to create demand and viability for marketing their products where they are? So as for the empowering them, it's not a problem at all. It is how to create viability or demand for the things that they make. How do we package those things so that people will be interested in buying them wherever they are? And I think that's the next step that we ought to look at when we talk about empowerment. And empowerment doesn't happen only when you teach skills. Empowerment is a process of also training them to understand assertiveness, also training them to understand their rights, so that when a guy comes to them on the streets and says, let me sleep with you and I'll protect you on the streets, they actually say no. And I have actually seen rapid response centers being launched in the Agriculture and Medina markets to ensure that the girls are able to report such cases. So the empowerment process is a holistic process. And like I said, all hands must come on deck to ensure that these girls and these women get the kind of skills that they need, if that is really what they want to do.
Okay, let me quickly cross over now. Thank you for joining us, Haji Alamnatu. You're a women's rights activist, and you've been in communities where some of these things have happened, and young girls have had to drift down south and gone through horrifying experiences. I just want to take the conversation back a notch because we didn't get you from the start. What are some of the factors that you feel are still contributing to this downward drift where these girls end up as Kayaye. We've spoken about poverty. We've spoken about child marriage. Are there any other factors that you see are contributing to this problem?
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that poverty and child marriage have come up because many a time you see that girls will elope because of them being exchanged for marriage.
Right.
Another factor which I'll say is that girls also are asked to come there so that they're able to, get some assets back home. So you hear a lot of them saying that I've come to Accra or Kumasi so that I'm able to get a sewing machine, or I'm able to get some kind of clothing or let me say bowls back so that it can help me in my marriage, because back at home, my parents will not be able to support me on that. Then also one other factor is also the long dry seasons that we have at the north, which limits women and girls' ability to further engage in economic activities. So you see that when the rainy season stops and farming activities stop, the only alternative is to ask that some women or girls come back to the city to start fending for themselves. I will also say that sometimes, although we don't really look at it as a problem, infrastructure can also ask these girls, to migrate. Many of our communities, you have basic school just up to primary 6, and you have the JSS in another town. What it means is that if a parent cannot buy a bicycle or go to rent a place for, a ward to stay and be attending school, she's left with nothing but to be prepared for marriage. And so because there's no junior high school to continue in those communities, and there is nothing, any livelihood diversification or skills that she can engage in, she has to be forced to go to KAE so that she's able to also even fend for herself and sometimes also give remittances back home, as we have seen. And so let me also not rule out that sometimes the girls also entice each other and they want to be experimental and adventurous, beyond the systemic issue on culture and poverty and all those things. We can also rule out the case of adventure.
Okay, I remember reading this fictionalized account of, Kayaye and some of the abuses they face. It's a story by Amadako. And one of the crucial elements in there is that of rape. Sometimes those who give them these places to squat and all of that, rape is rampant. I'm just thinking, they get raped, a lot of them, they get pregnant. You go to Malata and other markets, you see them with their children. The children are not being taken care of. They are not getting an education and all of that. What do you think we can do to stem the tide of that? What is the reality of rape as far as Kayaye are concerned? And what do you think we can do to stem the tide of that?
So you see that when girls go to live in these cities, then comes to us a case of double jeopardy, because they are children themselves, and then they get to give birth to another child. And so they become 2 children for who to look after, And so it's worrying. You see age of 14, 16 year old, and they have babies strapped at the back, carrying very heavy load. And that is worrying. I think that, like my other edits, Esinam talk about, we need a holistic, process to deal with this. We may want to consider having some childcare centers around the market, and also supporting the girls themselves on some soft skills, as she has mentioned, like confidence building and being assertive and knowing their rights, and especially knowing where to report cases of sexual abuses to. It's one way to support. And then also we need to also find ways to empower them around their sexual and reproductive health rights, so that they are more prepared, and then they are not able to just joke around with their bodies just because they are being threatened by some boy or some man. And so we need a holistic issue to deal with it, because there are a lot of children there, and many of them also go through unwanted abortion and very dangerous abortions, and which affects them. Not to talk about the STDs, and sometimes they are also prone to having HIV/AIDS,
right,
and some other sexual reproductive health issues.
Okay, so there are said to be at least 6,000 of these kayaye, or human shopping baskets in Accra alone. And even that is a conservative figure, about 6,000 of them. Let's proffer solutions in less than a minute each. I want each of you to have a bite in less than a minute. I'll start with you, Hajia. Apart from what you've said, what do you think, what other things, institutional, solutions, individual solutions, what do we do?
So I think that we must also look at what is the motivation for going, and try to make development even. Because if the district or municipalities in which they've come from, there are opportunities, I don't think they will go there. But for them that are there, I think that we need to have correct data of who are there and look at what specific needs they have.
Okay.
If some of them need training, then we have to support them, not also ignoring the other children that they have, given birth to.
Okay, thank you very much for making it very succinct. Edith, what would be your wrap-up solutions?
So in addition to what has mentioned, apart from the solutions back at home, it's also important that we address their needs whilst they are here in the cities.
Okay.
So we must ensure that they are well protected. We provide them shelter. We connect them to educational opportunities and to good healthcare. I like that she mentioned sexual and reproductive health issues because they are one of the major. Importantly, get them to report abuse when they come across it. And this is not just an issue of Kayaye, it's a general issue in Ghana, and we must strengthen our response to sexual and gender-based violence in Ghana. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Edith, for sharing your thoughts. Do we still have justice? All right, so we're wrapping the conversation there. It's all about Ghana's human shopping baskets. The conversation continues. But up next on the AM show, Mama Vioso Abaje has been engaging Jacob, a transport expert at Top Tech Logistics, on what each sign means, what the implications are, and what you should do when you see any of those lights flash up on your dashboard in your car. What does it mean? That's up next on the AM show.
Hello there. Today on our Drive Safe campaign, we're talking about the dashboard, and I'm referring to that control panel that is set within the central console of your vehicle. There's a good reason why you shouldn't ignore the lights that appear there. And so we're sitting through a class today at Top Tech. I would invite all of you to join me.
We are here to talk about the Car Instrumentation Panel. There are some instruments on the instrumentation panel which each and every driver should understand what exactly it communicates to. We have the first one being the tachometer, which spells T-A-C-H-O, tachometer, or the rev counter. It is connected to the engine, which tells you the power of your engine. It tells you the power of your engine, how your engine revolves. If we look at it, we can see times 1000 R/mean. It tells us that our engine revolves 1000 times every minute. Every minute your engine revolves 1000 times. That is how come when you start your engine in the morning, the red nozzle rises above 1. The calibrations we are seeing in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6, are in thousands. They are not able to write 1000. That is why they use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to represent it. When we also look at it, we see a part shaded red, which we are going to talk about it. The same tachometer tells you if your car is consuming fuel. If in the local dialect, most taxi drivers will be saying, they'll call the mechanic and say that, oh, Masami Jane was wrong, which means that the power of the engine is too high. What makes them know is the tachometer. When you start your engine early in the morning, the red nozzle needs to go up. It goes above 1000. Within the shortest possible time, it needs to drop below 1000, which is, when you divide it into 2, it should be between 1000 and 500, which tells you that your engine is running the normal way. But the moment it rises above 1, which is 1,000, and stays there for a long time, then your engine is running twice the normal way whilst it is stable, it's not moved. If you move the car, then it's going to run more. That's how come sometimes our car will be consuming fuel. Apart from the spark plugs consuming fuel, this also prompts you that your car is really consuming fuel. The tachometer, we shouldn't accelerate for it to get into the red zone. The red zone, red always represents danger when it comes to this. When it goes into the red zone, your engine can break down. It means that you are forcing the engine, you are forcing it to run, which will allow your engine to break down. That is the tachometer for us. We have some icons on it, which are the dashboard lights. From here we will move to that, so we explain all these lights that we see on the instrument panel. The next instrument we can see here is the speedometer. The speedometer is connected to the wheels. It only moves when your car starts to move. The maximum speed for highway, motorway has a maximum speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Then we have the highways having 60 kilometers per hour. It is measured in kilometer per hour as we see from this side. The speedometer tells you the speed at which your car is moving at a point in time. So it is always better to look at your speed limit signs on the road, so you can link it with the speedometer. Now, most cars that are coming in has two calibrations. The first and the second. We will see another one with a calibration very smaller than the bigger ones. All I want people to know is when it has two calibrations, all you need to look out for is your unit of measurement, which is the kilometer per hour or the miles per hour. Some will have miles per hour, some will have kilometer per hour. Miles per hour is not used in our country. We don't do miles per hour, we do kilometer per hour. So when you look at it and you see MPH, that is the miles per hour up, and the kmh below the miles per hour, which means that the smaller calibrations in the middle is what we are supposed to use. When you project from miles per hour, which is 60 miles per hour, or 60 miles per hour to kilometer per hour, then it's 100. 60 miles per hour gives you 100 kilometers per hour. So if you are using the miles per hour, then it means you are going beyond the speed limit signs on our road, which most people, because the smaller calibrations is very small, they tend using the bigger ones, which is very wrong. So all you need to do for the speedometer is look for the unit of measurement. If you have two calibrations, look for the unit of measurement if it's kmh or mph. From there we move to the transparent seal that we are seeing here. We have two numbers, 181.5, which is the trip meter, and we also have 14656, which is the odometer. So with the trip meter, what it does is it tells you the distance you've covered from one destination to the other. You can reset it. The trip meter can be reset. You set it to 000. So by the time an example like we are moving from Top Tech to Cape Coast, by the time we'll get there, this would have read, giving us the distance we've covered from Top Tech to Cape Coast. So the trip meter is what tells you the distance you've covered from one place to the other. Then the second one gives us the miles, the mileage. What people ask, when they want to buy a car, what is the mileage? What is the mileage? This is what they are looking out for. They want to see how far their car has been used since it was manufactured. The higher the number, the more your car has been used. The lower the number, the lesser your car has been used. So when we are purchasing a car, yes, the mileage is important. The mileage is important. But another thing you should look out for is the quality of the engine. The quality of the engine. People will tell you the mileage can be tempered with. They can reduce the mileage. No, they cannot reduce the mileage. All they can do is they buy a new instrumentation panel with a lower mileage and fix it. So if you buy the car, you will see a lower mileage, all right. But maybe the car has been used more than this mileage because they have bought a new instrumentation panel and fixed it with a lower mileage. So please, we shouldn't depend solely on our mileage. We shouldn't depend solely on it. You need to get an expert, somebody who knows about cars, who can determine when even the car is started. The moment the car is started and there is a problem with your engine, the person will notice it. The person shouldn't drive the car before you get to know that your car has a problem. So the mileage is what we can also use to check that. Then when we come to the last one, this is a separate instrument. We have the top one being the fuel gauge, then the down one being the temperature gauge. With the fuel gauge, most of the times we see people buy fuel at the fuel stations. Then, example, they are filling their tank. Then you see them shaking the car. They'll be shaking the car. When you ask them, they'll tell you they want more fuel to get into it. With the fuel tank, when you put in more fuel, there should be a space left for air to mix up with our fuel. But the moment you shake it, it covers all the space, and that could spark fire. That is how come sometimes people's car will get burnt. You see the car starts burning and they can't do anything about it because it started from the tank where the fuel is. When it starts from there, you can't do anything. So shaking the car for more fuel to go in there, it's wrong. How do I know my tank is filled? He fixes the machine, he presses it, locks it. He will leave it. The machine will run for some time, then it cuts. He will come back to press it again. It runs, then it cuts. When it cuts for the second time, you should know that your tank is filled. That is not the time you have to be shaking for more fuel to go in there. Secondly, it can also spoil the nozzle. It can also spoil the nozzle. When you do that, it locks the nozzle. It will lock it up there. So all the time you will think, oh, I have full tank, but it is spoiled. So please, buying fuel and shaking, it's wrong. There is an icon which has an arrow beside it, which most people do not take so serious. But this arrow beside the fuel pump that we are seeing tells you where your tank is situated or your tank is. The arrow, if it's pointing left, it is telling you that your tank is at the left. So when you get to the filling station, you shouldn't position yourself at the left-hand side. You rather position yourself at the right-hand side so they have easy access to your tank. Then if the arrow is also pointing right, then it means that your tank is at the right. You should position yourself at the left-hand side so they have easy access to your tank. The last meter we can find here is the temperature gauge. This temperature gauge is what prompts you when your car is having overheating or when your car is overheating. We can see C and H, which C is cold, H is hot. You start your car in the morning, it should stay on C. Whilst your engine starts to heat up, it climbs gradually. It climbs gradually, then it divides it into two. When it divides it into two, meaning that your cooling system is working well. The cooling system, the visible ones, we can see the radiator, we can see the fan, we can also see the coolant. But there are other ones that adds up, like the thermostat, the water pump. Water pump, the name is water pump, but we don't put water into cars. We don't put water into cars. So if all this together are working well, then your temperature gauge will also be working well. The moment you see it rising above, getting to the H, quickly you need to stop. You need to stop. When it gets to the H, that is where we start seeing vapor coming out of the car. And with that, when it gets to that extent, your head gasket will be gone. When your head gasket is gone, with petrol cars, yes, we can open the engine, change it. But with diesel cars, you can't. When you open it, the engine will lose its pressure. It will lose its pressure. So please, we shouldn't allow our temperature gauge get to 8. We shouldn't allow it to get to the hot side. So this is the instrumentation panel. Then we'll be going to the dashboard lights that we are seeing, the warning lights that we are seeing, and what they mean. These are the most common dashboard lights or dashboard warning lights that we can find in most of the cars. There are more. There are more. The new cars that are coming, because of how they manufactured it, they've brought more into it. But these are the common ones we can find on every car. I will start from down here. This light tells you about your seat belt. It tells you about your seat belt. The moment people sit in your car and you see this light, it means that some of the passengers are not with their seat belt. They need to put on their seat belt. After they put it on and you still find out that this light is on, then there is a problem with your seat belt system. It needs to be checked. It needs to be checked. When you check it, with all these icons, please do not give it to mechanics. It will shock you what mechanics can do. It will shock you what mechanics can do. With the ABS we are seeing is anti-lock braking system. It is also connected to your braking system, which unlocks the wheels. When you brake, you have an emergency brake. If the car has no ABS and you brake, you give an emergency brake, your wheels lock. But this system has been placed in the car so that when your wheels lock, automatically it unlocks it. So when this light appears on your dashboard or your instrumentation panel, you need to have it checked. Do not give it to mechanics, because the mechanic will work on this, the light cannot go, then all he can do is to cut the cable. When he cuts the cable, this light goes off. He has worked on your car because you wanted the light off. He has worked on it. But this is also important for our car. It helps the braking system for effective braking. So please, when it happens that any of these lights are on your instrumentation panel, give it to a diagnostic people. They'll put a machine on it which will detect what exactly happened to this and tell them what to do to repair it. The next one is our oil pressure light, which when it appears on your dashboard, is telling you that your oil is getting finished. Gradually your oil is getting finished. Quickly we need to have it checked. There could be a leakage somewhere, which the oil leakage could be internal, it could be external. If it's internal, you would not see it. But if it's external, it will drop on the ground for you to see. So when it's external, quickly you have it checked. If it's internal, you also have it checked. The next is our fog light. When you see this on, it means that your fog light is on. All you need to do is to put it off. When you put it off, it will go out. It will go out. Then we move to the next line. This icon tells us that our tire pressure is down. It tells you that your tire pressure is down. Then the newer cars that are coming in, this is not there. What you see is they draw a car. A car appears on your instrumentation panel. Then they write numbers at the tires. They will draw a car, then they'll write numbers on the tires. Let's say 36, 36, 36, 36. But the moment the other 136 goes down, let's say 28, it means that the one with the 28 has a problem. It has a puncture, or the inflation pressure in there has gone down. So you need to work on it. It could be a slow puncture, or it could be that the fluid or the paste they use in doing, like this is an example of a tire. They use paste on the side so that it gets very good contact with the rims. So if the paste has worn out or there is no paste, then there will be air going out of your tire. There will be air going out of your tire. So please, when we see that deals with your tire pressure. The moment you work on it, you put in air, you move on it, this light should go off. If it still stays there, then it means we should check all our tires. We should check all our tires. Then the next one deals with the airbag. The next one deals with the airbag. Sometimes people confuse themselves with this and that. This is the seat belt and this is the airbag. The moment your airbag light comes on means that your airbag has a problem. It needs to be checked. If you don't check it and it still stays on, when there is a head-on collision, whereby your airbag should come out to protect you, it wouldn't come out. It wouldn't. So please, when the light is on, we should have it checked. Why the light is on? It could be your sensor. The airbag sensor is gone, it's spoiled. So all they need to do is to change it. The next one is a demister. A demister or a defroster. This in our car helps defrost our windshield. When it's raining, sometimes you see that the windscreen becomes frosty. Drivers will be driving at the same time using dusters to clean the windshield, which is wrong. In driving, you need both hands on the steering wheel. So all you need to do is to push this, and it generates heat. It brings out heat at the same time, the cold air, just to defrost your windshield for effective driving. Then we have this, which is the hazard indicator knob. You just press it and your double indicator light comes on. What we hear people saying, trafficator, trafficator. It's called traffic indicator light. The two light comes on, which tells everybody that is following you or ahead of you that there is a problem with your car. Normally we see people, the moment it starts to rain, people put on their hazard light. It is wrong. When it's raining, we don't put on hazard light. All you need to put on is your headlight. You put on the headlight, so people, everybody behind you will see your brake light. And those coming from in front or your front will also see that there is a car ahead of them. You don't put on your hazard light when it is raining. We should take note of that. We move to this, which talks about traction. It deals with traction. When this light is on, it means that your tires are not getting hold of the road well. They are not getting hold of the road well. There are mechanisms which will help you when you get to a point you can put it off. But some of them do not have those. If your car doesn't have it and it stays on, your car is not having traction. It normally happens when you are in muddy areas or you are climbing a hilly area. That is when this light comes on. You are forcing the car to move on the road and it's not having traction. It will appear. The next one deals with our fuel. When this light comes on, tells you that your fuel has gone down. Your fuel has gone down. When you allow this light on severally for some time, your fuel pump will cease. And when your fuel pump ceases, your car, you can't use it. All you need to do is to change it. It will amaze you that the fuel you buy into your car is not as expensive as the fuel pump. The fuel pump is very expensive than the fuel we buy in our car. So please, we should be very, very careful. So when we shouldn't allow our fuel light, warning light, to come on. Always it should be at the top. Then the next one, which looks like there is a shoe in there, are only found in automatic vehicles. They are not found in manual vehicles. They are only found in automatic vehicles, which says that when you see this light on, it means that you were forcing the car to change without using the brakes. You know, before you change your gears, you need to slam the brakes so hard before you change. But if you do not do that and you are forcing the gears to change, this light will come on. It will be there. So it prompts you that there is something wrong. You are not doing something right. So when you see the light, all you need to do is to slam your brakes down and change. This light will go off. It will go off. The next one deals with the temperature gauge. The new cars that are coming do not have what we saw previously when I showed the instrumentation panel, but now they come with this. In the morning you start your car, since it has not heated up, you see a blue color. As the engine heats up, when it gets to its level, this light will go off. But the moment you see this light illuminated red, then there is overheating taking place. Quickly, you have to park your car and check why the overheating is happening. This, which we call the heater coil, found in only diesel cars. They are found in only diesel cars. This cannot be found in petrol car. It's found in only diesel cars. Let me use an example, the Sprinter buses that we sit in. When you sit in the car, sometimes you see them pressing something for a long time before they start it, or you see them joining two wires. They join two wires before they start the car. Yes, the automatic way for this to work has spoiled, so they do it manually, so they can join the two wires to heat up the engine before they start. So when you see yours on, if you are using a diesel car and you see it on, have it checked. Let them check the connection of the heater, so they work on it for you. The next one is the battery. When you see this icon appearing on and off, it means that your charging system in the car has spoiled. And what charges your battery? The alternator. We have what we call the alternator in the car, which charges the battery. At the same time, the alternator moves the car. So the moment the alternator is not charging the battery, you see this light appear and goes off. It appears, then it goes off. Quickly, you have to have your alternator checked. Let them check the alternator for you, and this will go off. The next one is a check engine sign. Check engine sign, which tells you that your engine has a problem. It tells you that your engine has a problem. Sometimes there are some of the cars, when your car is due for servicing, it appears. The moment you service it and they reset it for you, it goes off. So when you see that, please have your engine checked. And it will amaze you that a mechanic did something, and when you think about it, you ask, is this person a real mechanic? There was a check engine sign which he's supposed to work on. He's worked on it for a long time. He couldn't let it go. So all he could do was to open the dashboard and use this electrician's tape, the black tape. He used it to cover it. He covered it. So when it's day, you will not see it. But in the night, you see it illuminate a little. Before they checked and saw that he has used a tape to cover it because he couldn't work on it. That is why I'm saying, when this light appears, don't give it to mechanics. This is not the work of mechanics. This is not the work of mechanics. The next one, when you see it, means that your parking brake is on. When we talk about parking brake, we have the foot one and we have the hand one. The hand one is what we call the hand brake, and the foot one is the one that at the far end, the left side of the driver, which they need to push it down. So when you see it on, it means that your parking brake is on. Your parking brake is on. So you should bring it down before you move. When you start your car, the moment you turn the key, where we slot the key is called the ignition. Then when you look on the ignition, you will see ACC, which is accessories. You see ACC, which is accessories. You see on. When you turn your key to on, it brings this light onto your instrumentation panel. It brings it on. All these lights will appear. Then the moment you start your car, every light here should go off, leaving this, because your handbrake or your parking brake is still on. So when you see this light, you start your car and all this light goes off and it's only this. Everything is working well. The moment you bring your parking brake down, this should also go off. But after you started your car and you see any of this light on, please call a diagnostic person. He puts the machine on it and determine what exactly is wrong. So he corrects it. When they put the machine on it, it tells them what is wrong and also suggests how to repair it. So please, we should, whenever we see this on our instrumentation panel, this is what we have to do. And so many times people do not know this. That is why we are treating this morning from Top Tech Ghana. Thank you very much for listening to me, and goodbye.
Thanks for staying with us here on the AM show. Now, we'll take you to the Volta region, specifically to Aflao, and our location exactly is the Aflao Police Station, also the Diamond Cement Road, where we know that residents have been very unhappy about the nature of that stretch of road. Ivy Setoji is our Volta regional correspondent. She joins us. Apparently, there is some sort of protests going on. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning, Mama V.
Great. Ivy, tell us what's been happening.
So, we are currently at the Diamond Cement Road in Aflao, where residents, hundreds of residents, are demonstrating, protesting against the deplorable nature of the Diamond Cement Road. According to these residents, this road has been like this for so many years. Where the big cement company is on this lane and nothing has been done about the schools on this road, lots of businesses, and nothing is done about this road. So they are asking government to fix the Diamond Cement Road now so that they can also have mental relief, because a lot of families are on this lane, businesses, restaurants, and other things, schools as well, as I've mentioned earlier. So, as of now, a lot of residents are here. The police are here as well, trying to maintain peace and order. But it's a big issue right now, as residents are not able to listen to the police. They want to go around the entire Aflao township, while the police stop them here, just by the roadside where the Diamond Cement is. They actually started the protest from where the company is right to the junction. But right now, they are being stopped by the police to continue with the demonstration.
Ivy, I know that this road has come up before. I remember back in 2019, especially when we heard that the circuit court couldn't even sit because the roads, this particular road that we're seeing on the screen is so terrible. Between 2019 and now, when the roads minister gave some promises and assurances that the road was going to be fixed, tell us what has happened.
The road is getting worse, Mama V. Truth be told, the road is getting worse by the day. From 2019 to now, is bad as of now. So the residents want the road to be fixed now. So that is what they are demanding. If you come to this road, Mama V, you will be sad, because a lot of things are happening here. And the residents said they are very tired about the promises of government, both NDC and MPP, they are tired of their promises. So all they need is the road to be fixed now, because the road is really, really bad.
Let's talk about the connecting towns. So where would people usually be traveling to on this stretch? Where does it connect to?
This place connects directly to Togo. So when you get on this bike to the Diamond Cement, where the company is, to our journey road, you can easily get to Togo, which is closer or easier way instead of passing through the border.
There are a lot of stories that have come out, from people who usually would use the stretch. We've had pregnant women talk about how they suffer bodily pains each time they've had to sit in vehicles on this stretch of the road. Tell us about the other stories, the daily struggles of residents using this road that we're talking about.
Students and school children normally use this road, and every day they use this road with dust. They are uncomfortable using this road, especially school children and students on this road. And now the bikers, that's the Okada riders, also use this road. They also complain every day. The pregnant women, yes, according to the residents, a lot of them have suffered miscarriage because of the bad nature of the road, because even they don't even have a good health center in the village there. So normally when a pregnant woman is in labor, they have to carry her all the way to a Aflao hospital. Okay? So this has caused a lot of harm to the people, according to the residents.
What is the MC saying about this latest development?
Well, for now, we are yet to get to the MCE, from here, when they present their petition, we will get to the MCA and speak to him as to what he has to say. And there was a time when we interviewed him, he said that the road was going to be fixed. But as of now, nothing is done about it. So from here, after the petition is presented, we will go to the MCA to speak to him.
Indeed. I remember 2 months ago when the Ghana News Agency also contacted him because residents had expressed similar concerns. He assured that the road was going to be fixed, but obviously we haven't seen any improvement. So what is in this petition that they are presenting, and where exactly are they taking it to?
Now, according to them, the leaders, initially the police had told them from the demonstration because they said the president's directive against the protocols, that's the social gathering, was supposed to be observed. But the residents went ahead to demonstrate. So they are asking, all that is in the petition is just to fix the road. That is what is in the petition. That from government as the NDC to MPP, they have promised the residents and they have failed to, fix the road. But right now, they are asking government to fix the road now. They cannot wait anymore.
Are they given some ultimatums?
For now, they are yet to read the petition. Well, that is what we asked earlier. They are yet to get ultimatum, but I was sure they will. So we are waiting for them to give an ultimatum. Okay.
All right. So how long have they been doing this? How long have they been doing this one?
From 7:30. Yeah, they started around 7:30. So they are expected to go around the Aflawu township. But the police, as I said, are trying to stop them from demonstrating beyond the Diamond Cement Street.
Okay, we know that the times that we're in, just last week, we were reminded again with a court injunction that you cannot go on a course such as what is happening. So how is the police trying to prevent them from embarking on this protest that they're already on?
So, right now, what happened was when they started the demonstration, right from the beginning, the police heard about it, and so they came in their numbers to try to stop them. But because the residents are not violent, they are just doing a peaceful demonstration, they decided to look on for the meantime. But it's getting hotter and hotter by the minute. So more police men and women are being deployed to join their colleagues here to see what happens. So I am a little far away because of the noise. But at my back, they are trying to make sure that they stop them from going beyond the Diamond Cement Road. They don't want them to go on the main street of Aflawu.
Well, Ivy, we'll leave it here so that you can come back and update us in terms of exactly the demands that the residents are making and whether or not they have timelines to their demands as well. Ivy Setoji is our correspondent in the Volta region. She's been following a demonstration today by residents of Aflawu. So these are residents who live around the Diamond Road area. That's how it is famously known. It's a police station road, and there are several communities that use the stretch. In fact, this will not be the first time that they are protesting or expressing their dissatisfaction with the nature of the road. And back in 2019, the roads minister had assured, in fact, this is what he exactly said, as he was explaining that the Diamond Cement Road in Aflawu, which was in a very bad shape, preventing the circuit court to sit, would be given priority. Likewise, the Komla Dumo Road and the Kliko Road. Quotes directly, we have gone very far in the procurement process on quotes. But that was back in 2019. Here we are in 2021 with the road still in that same condition. Residents are protesting. We'll bring you a lot more as this situation develops. Stay with us. When we come back, here's the latest update on the ongoing National Science and Maths Quiz, the Regionals. Now, Infantipim School, University Practice Senior High School, Asin State College, and Edinaman Senior High School have booked a place at the National Science and Maths Quiz Championship scheduled for October this year. Infantiman girls, for the third time back-to-back, will mount the national stage after they were walloped with a 48-point gap by University Practice Senior High School. Maxwell Agbagba witnessed all of that yesterday. He joins me via Zoom for a conversation. Maxwell, the Central region has not been so strong. Is it surprising that the Regional Director of Education says the trophy will return to the Central region? Have they proven to you, because you've been to the Greater Accra region where we know Presec is super strong, have they given you any indication that they are close to the trophy?
Well, yes, Mama V, I think they have given the indication. In fact, the schools from the Greater Accra region would have to really start preparing very hard for the national championship. Because here in the Central region yesterday, I saw some of the highest points, recorded in the regional qualifier. So we saw that with Infantipim School, they had 56 points in their contest. University Practice Senior High School came up against a school, mean like Infantiman girls, but they managed to win that contest with 67 points. So 67 points, 66 points, some of the highest, that I've seen in the regional qualifiers. So you can say that really Central Region will be a force to reckon. We know that in 2019, Augustine's College actually won the regional championship. They went ahead to win the national championship. In fact, the Director of Education says the trophy, the National Science and Maths trophy, belongs to the Central Region because, of course, this is the bastion of education. If you're talking about the first-class schools and all the big schools, they are all located here in the Central Region. And, of course, yesterday when I had interactions with the contestants from the Infantipim School, they told me that, look, we do not belong to the regional. So even as we've won, even when we've won the competition, we don't think we need to jubilate. We think the big job is ahead at the national. That is when we can start bragging. That is when we can start celebrating. So now we are not really, jubilating or celebrating for now. We're waiting to get to the national stage. So all the schools here in the Central Region are poised for action, and they're just waiting for October so that, we hit the ground running so we can separate the boys from the men. But yesterday, Edinaman Senior High School actually qualified. It was a close contest at a point. They were winning throughout, but at a point it felt like Igwakwe Brim Senior High School, we're going to beat them, we're going to overtake them to win the trophy, but that did not happen. To win the contest, but that did not happen. Subsequently, we had the contest where University Practice Senior High School, Infantiman girls. The point gap was so huge. It was a 48-point gap. Nobody expected that. Infantiman girls, we know them 3 times in a row. They've missed out on being on the national stage in 2020. In fact, Asin State College prevented them from getting onto the national stage. Asin State College yesterday qualified against the 2021 national championship, which will be held, in Accra. So really, all the schools are poised for action. They tell me they cannot wait for October to come for them to mount the big stick.
Okay, well, Maxwell, we will let you go for now. Maxwell reporting from the Central Region. And let's cross over to the Nut Hall in Tamale, where Manuel Kranting is standing by. There you are, Manuel. Good morning. What's been happening there? I see there's a contest today.
Yes, about 5 contests today, Mama V. Let me say a very good morning to you. And the Northern Regional Championship started yesterday and took off on a very exciting note. The highest set of points
at the end of their contest. That was really exciting. By the end of yesterday's contest, 4 schools that qualified for the national tournament. Tamale Senior High School is one of them. There was Cal for him, Senior High School. There was Tamale Islamic Senior High School, and then also Business SHS. in Tamale. Well, it's really interesting because there are about 2 business schools in the northern region that are doing exploits, making exploits really in the competition. And, it's worth noting also that the only seeded school from the northern region is not a science school, typically. It's actually a business school, a northern business school. And so the northern region brings a lot of, different dynamics into the competition. But let me not do all the stuff. Let me bring in the program coordinator for the National Science and Math Quiz, the Northern Zone, Stephen Yankee, to join us quickly and talk to me about what exactly the process has been like. Mr. Yankee, good morning. Grateful that you could speak to us.
Yeah, good morning, Manuel. We appreciate the coverage on joining this year for the regional qualifier.
Well, we've been to 2 exciting regions already, the Upper East and Upper West, and now we are in the Northern region. Tell us, what's been the distinct, presentation that the Northern region has got?
Well, I think the performance yesterday
from Tamale Senior High School was very impressive. Tamale Senior High School had been seeded over the last about 4 editions of the National Science and Math Quiz. And for the first time in about 4 years, they returned to the regional qualifiers. And I think they showed that this is not where they belong. They belong among the seeded schools. And we saw yesterday, some may argue that the schools they've met yesterday were no match for them. That is true. And in fact, their co-equals are at the 1-8 stage. But we'll see how their performance will level up with those from Upper East when they meet in the championship tomorrow. Remember, Notre Dame Senior High School is coming. Bolga Senior High School is coming, Francis Xavier is coming. This is where we will see the quality or the staff that the team from Tamale Senior High School is made up of. You mentioned also the team from Business Senior High School. They also did very well yesterday, qualifying with 44 points. That was very impressive. I think they also showed that they are in for some business this year, and we need to see what they would also display during the championship that will come off tomorrow.
Interesting. Now, you've made a point about the Northern Business School, which is of course seeded, and then the Business Senior High School, which qualified yesterday. But yesterday I spoke to Dr. Peter Atifa, who is the regional director of the GES, and he made a point that the schools should be looking at employing strategists, specialized trainers to, prepare their students in the competition. I mean, does that matter anyway in the competition?
Well, some schools certainly have more experience when it comes to National Science and Maths Quiz than other schools. And so in that case, there are coaches in some of these schools who have a lot more experience. What I know is that some regions from time to time even organize refresher courses for the quiz coordinators, and they bring on board some of these experienced teachers as facilitators of these sessions. So they help some of these regions in their preparations. And well, I mean, every now and then we hear schools poaching National Science and Maths quiz teachers from other schools. I think it's a good thing. It just goes to show that the schools take the quiz more seriously, and certainly we would like to encourage them to continue to do their best to see how best their schools will perform on stage after all these background things that they do.
So how many schools are qualifying from the Northern region?
So 6 schools are qualifying from the Northern region. 4 schools qualified yesterday: Car Senior High School, Tamale Islamic, Tamale Senior High School, and Business Senior High School. We have 2 more contests from the Northern region this morning. The first contest features Ghana Senior High School, Tamale. They were seeded last year. Unfortunately, they lost their seed, so they are back at the regionals. They meet Pont Tamale Senior High School, Ambaria Senior High School, and Pandai Senior High School. Then the last contest for the Northern region will feature Zabzugu Senior High, Willensi Senior High, Saboba EPSHS, and Dabopa Technical Institute. After these 2 contests, we will have the Northeast regional qualifier, just 1 contest. It will feature Walewale Senior High, Bumpurugu Senior High Technical, Nankpanduri Business Senior High School, and Nalerugu Senior High School. And then we'll have the Savannah contest, which will feature Damango Senior High, Salaga SHS, Tiayama Salaga, Indira Jakpa Senior High Technical School, and Buipe Senior High School.
I see. And so it promises to be really exciting. And we're looking forward to the contest. Thank you very much. And so that's Stephen Yankee. He's program coordinator for the National Science and Maths Quiz, particularly the Northern Zone. And he's just been talking to me about, the specifics of the contests that have been, that have gone on already, and then the ones that we're expecting to have today. So really, you're seeing a lot of the business schools making strides in the competition, Mama V, but there's so much more to be desired. What is expressed in the director's, caution that the schools should be looking at employing more trainers, specialized trainers by that I mean, to give them the opportunity to do better in the competition, Mama V. All
right, so we've got 5 contests, Mano. Get some tours, Afi, and get ready for all the contests so we can update our viewers.
Well, I'm in the mood for the Sanla. You can see my dress.
I can feel you. Manuel Kranting is in Tamale right now at the Nat Hall reporting on the 28th edition of the National Science and Maths Quizzes. The originals taking place currently, and we've been updating you. We'll end in the middle of May, of course. All eyes on the national exercise that will happen in October. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You can also go to the JoyNews Facebook page for more updates on this. This is how we wrap up our show today. We thank you so much for your company. We will see you certainly, God willing, tomorrow.